Yo, what up, everyone? Mike Hill, the Wholesaling Titan, here to talk to you about wholesaling, flipping houses, and real estate investing. Now, in today's video, I want to answer the question, can you flip properties listed on the MLS? And should you flip properties from the MLS? So, the answer here is yes, of course you can. But I also want to talk about why, when, how to find them, and what are some of the best practices when doing these types of deals. I see a lot of comments on forums or advice on Facebook saying this can't be done or that you should avoid it. And so for all the MLS haters out there, it's just not true. You are obviously welcome to your preferences and opinions, but to say that this can't be done is just false. I do them all the time. My mentor does them, which is how I learned that this can be done. Students in my mentoring program have flipped these deals. In many cases, these are their first wholesale deals. I have some case studies on my YouTube channel and throughout my online course showing those deals actually being done. I know other wholesalers who use deals from the MLS as their primary and in some cases their sole source of deals. So very quickly, just to recap, the MLS stands for Multiple Listing System. And without getting too technical here, it's basically just a marketplace for real estate deals where, agents and brokers can share deals and information. It might look like one big database, but in reality, there are several, hundred regional databases. The cool thing is that, with today's technology and sites like Zillow and Realtor.com, you get all of this information. You can see all this data in one place, access multiple MLS branches, and that was previously only available to licensed agents. Now, the thing to realize here is this is just a marketplace. And so to think that deals don't exist there, I don't know, it's basically kind of ignorant, right? There are all types of deals. You got retail deals, luxury deals, and granted, most of them will not be wholesale deals, but they're absolutely damaged homes and vacant homes, for sale by owner homes, foreclosures. When a bank needs to sell their REOs, an asset manager assigns the property to a listing agent who will go ahead and post the deal on the MLS. You can find homes in pre-foreclosure, just all kinds of stuff. And I want you to keep in mind that new properties are listed there every single day. So think about it like this, right? Being a realtor, pretty popular career these days. And if you think about your network, I'm sure that you probably know somebody who's a realtor. Now, let's say you inherited a property tomorrow and you said, hey, I don't want this house to take care of. I just want some cash. There's a very good chance you'd probably turn to a realtor maybe a family member, a friend, or a friend of a friend. In many cases, they'll be actually hounding you for the listing. Or, matter of fact, if you probably go check your mailbox, you'll have mail in there from an agent or broker offering to list the property for you. So really think about that. Like a lot of realtors are proactively looking for these listings, and essentially they're doing a lot of your lead generation work for you. Now, again, the vast majority of properties will not be appropriate for wholesaling, but we're talking about a marketplace of millions and millions of properties. So, when people talk about, there not being enough inventory or there's too much competition from too many wholesalers, I mean, it's bullshit. If you look at just one county, let's look at Miami-Dade County. It's just one county and like 50,000 properties for sale right now. And if we take a very conservative assumption of, $10,000 profit on a flip, even if I only get one of those deals done per month, if you do that, you'd still be a six-figure income earner. So at a minimum, you're earning double what is like the household average in America right now. So I don't care if there are 100 wholesalers looking at properties. Like all you need, obviously you want more, but you just need one. Like I say this pretty often. Say if you make 100 offers and 99 of them get rejected, you just need that one. And if you bank, let's say that 10K, it's not a bad investment for a 99% fail rate. So let's talk about how to find them. So when you're searching the MLS, it's going to be hard to find motivators like divorce, for example, or some of the internal motivators like a frustrated landlord, for example. That stuff is going to be more for your direct to seller marketing. So what you really want to look for are what I call external motivators. You can look at things like pre-foreclosure, which is a great option. This is public data. And also what I recommend for my mentoring students when looking at these types of houses is to look for any sign of distress. So this can be physical signs, you can see them in the pictures, or you can look for certain keywords in the description. So I'm going to jump to a cut from my online training platform. This is called Wholesaling with Mike University. These are my kind of no fluff training videos. Most of them are, over the shoulder or screen share videos where I basically show you the A to Z, step-by-step process of how to flip houses. If you are interested in learning more about that program, I'll post a link in the description. So I'm going to cut to that clip, which is just going to give you one example of how to set up one of these searches. There are actually a lot of different ways, a lot of different sites, different criteria, and also even some software. And so I'll actually talk about that stuff too, but I guess keep in mind, and this is really important, that just finding these deals, it isn't everything. You still have to get the contract and ultimately close, to get paid, right? And so even more importantly, there are some best practices for that stuff that I want to talk about as well. So after we jump into this clip here, be sure to watch until the end of the video so you can get a more complete picture of, how all of that stuff works. So with that said, I'll go ahead and we'll jump into this clip. First one is this Movoto site, and then obviously Zillow. You can see it up here. But again, there's a lot of other sites, Trulia, Realtor.com, stuff like that. And although a lot of these systems feed from the same MLS, sometimes for whatever reason on the back end or what have you, there can be discrepancies. There can be delays in the data feeds. I don't know the back of these systems, so it's good to set these up on all these different sites. But for our purposes here, we'll just look at these two sites, and then you can replicate on other sites if you like. So what we want to do is, let's just go here. Let's say we're looking in Miami, Florida, right? All we want to do here, and you can set up multiple different searches, right? So maybe we have one search where we're looking at properties from 100,000 to let's do the minimum at 100,000 and max at 200,000. And we can have a separate search, 200 to 300, stuff like that. One search for 2+ bedrooms, another search for 3+ bedrooms, stuff like that. Home type, you want to keep it to single family. And what I recommend is when you're setting up these different search criteria, you want to start with the one that is probably the most refined, where you have the most filters, and that's going to be the ones that's most likely to sell. When you look at other wholesalers deal blasts, those are the ones that you see going more quickly, right? But there'll probably be less of those because of the high demand. So we'll start there and then we'll slowly expand. I'll show you that some more as we jump into real facts. So for example, I might, for this search, want to name it just single family houses in Miami, 100 to 200. And then maybe I'll have another search where I include, single family condos and multifamily, right? And then what we want to do is go to more. And then again, you can put in some additional criteria. You can look at and again, make many different versions. If you can't tell with all these filters, there's literally hundreds, if not hundreds of thousands of combinations that you can put together. And one thing I really like about this site here, again, max HOA fees, that's another cool one. You can look at foreclosure, short sales, something like that. Hiding pending, these are really good because a lot of deals, probably more than you would think, do fall out of contract. And if you can have a backup in there or swoop right in, that's a really good way to look at them. You might want to have a search set up for more than 100 days on market, because maybe the seller is a little bit frustrated. They might be more open to accepting a lower offer. But you don't want to look at just those, because if you have something that's in need of heavy rehab, is a lot of potential there. That's how rehabbers make their money. And so it won't last 100 days. You'll get the deal not because the seller's frustrated. You'll get the deal because of the condition. So these are just some of the different criteria and filters. One I really like here is this fixer upper, which is pretty cool. And then what you want to do, you can apply this search. As you can see, these pop up here. But what you want to do is save the search. And then you can do continue with email or the with Google, the Gmail account that I had you set up. And what that's going to do is anytime you have a property that meets these criteria, you will get an email. So then you can be the one to, jump on it and have first dibs. So, that's how you can really beat the competition, is by, it's moving with a sense of urgency. And then again, you can contact these people just on these sites. But if you have a CRM like Realfax, and I'll show you this in a minute, you can just plug the address into Realfax, and then you'll be able to automatically pull up the listing agent's email, which isn't always available on these sites. Or it's not disclosed. You have to send it through Zillow or whatever, and then they deliver it. And then you can also send your offers automatically in bulk, which I have some videos on that as well. So again, just glancing at this, I would say something like this, just by looking at how kind of dirty that looks. You can see the cabinets here are ripped out, the walls are dirty. I would imagine this is probably a, without even looking at it or comps or anything, this is probably good potential, right? And then again, if you're in South Florida and you're not on Realfax, by the way, I do have that site where you can just pop in the MLS number. I'll put a link to it maybe below this video or something, and you can just pop that in to get the agent's direct email address. Whereas you can see here, like I was saying before, you just do this contact agent, but you don't get their actual address, right? So again, we can do the same thing on Zillow. And another thing that I kind of forgot to mention, but I'll show you right here, is again, we'll go back to Miami, Florida. We want to look at for sale. And again, we can do the different types of filters, the price to 200, the beds, the home type. Don't want manufactured. And then something really cool here is keywords, right? So now, what are we looking for again? We're looking for properties that are indicative of some type of distress. So there's no guarantee, but some examples. TLC, property needs TLC. This is something realtors like to put into their listings when it's apparent that something needs to be repaired, right? You can do things like fire. Now, sometimes that could mean fireplace, right? Which is not helpful to you. So if that comes into your email, you just ignore it. But a lot of times that can mean fire damage. So you can write fire damage. You can write just the word damage. You can write damaged. You can write mold is a good one. You can write Chinese drywall, cash. Sometimes people say cash only. What does that mean? It means it doesn't qualify for a regular loan, or maybe the seller is very motivated. So that's just an option. If you can write termite, get a little bit creative with this. You can write roof. Again, that could mean new roof, and then you would ignore that. But a lot of times it could mean needs roof. You can be as generic as putting in the word needs. If something needs something, it could be indicative of a motivated seller or a distressed home situation. So this is going to be one technique. And then again, we're going to do this save search button. We're going to have all of those properties automatically delivered. So the second they hit Zillow with that criteria, you're going to get an email. And then you can, again, just jump on that and really make your offers. All right, so that's just one example of how you can set up a search for these properties. And again, that's free. In that video, I go on to just show, more of different filters, keywords, different websites you can use to set up, similar searches. But what I want to do now is also show you a clip demonstrating a more kind of advanced method. And this is one that a lot of my mentoring students have used successfully in my coaching program. And in this clip, I'm using a software called Realfax. You guys might have heard me talk about this before. This is my current CRM, and I just love it because it allows me to basically do everything in one place. So that includes search for properties, pull mail lists, run comps, find buyers, access the MLS. I can create follow-up funnels, set reminders, send automated emails, create templates, and send bulk offers that don't look like, spammy generic offers. Cool stuff, right? And the one thing I want to highlight in this clip from Realfax is that there are several extra options in this system that allow me to search the MLS using filters that you won't find on sites like Zillow or Realtor.com. So the CRM is called Realfax. I'll put a link in the description if you want to take a look. While the company does have plans to expand nationwide, as of now, they're only here in Florida, California, New Jersey, and Maryland. So if you're in another state, I'm sure there are other programs and software that does this same thing. And it might be something you just want to inquire about or, look for when you're looking at new software, CRMs, or whatever. Also, I think, and don't quote me here, but I think PropStream might have this. Now, to be clear, I'll rant and rave about something all day if I've used it successfully, but I kind of have a policy of not advocating for something if I haven't like personally used it and obtained results. So just to be clear, I've not used PropStream. I don't know enough about it to really talk to you guys about it. I think I will check it out one of these days. The guys over there have messaged me directly asking me to give it a run. I just kind of haven't gotten to it yet. But I do know other reputable wholesalers that vouch for it. And so if you are not in one of the states that I mentioned that offer that Refax handles, you might just want to look into it. Also, to my knowledge, PropStream just provides the data. Again, that's just to my knowledge. I could be completely wrong here. I don't think it's a full functioning CRM with some of the other features I mentioned, like that Refax has. But again, you just kind of need to do your research there. So anyway, in this clip, I'm showing you that Refax allows me to search the MLS based on multiple filters, one of which I really like and that I want to point out here is that you can search by potential and active equity, which is really a fast way to find properties that have potential to just be great deals. So let's go ahead and we'll jump into that clip really quickly. Okay, so I'm all logged into my Refax account, and what we're going to be doing now is looking for ways to find properties listed on the MLS using search parameters that aren't available on some of the public sites like Zillow and Realtor.com. Now, if you look at this here, there's just a ton of different filters and criteria that you can use, very similar to List Source. If we come here, you can see foreclosure data, mortgage, probate stuff, and you can use this to actually create lists for marketing direct to seller. So when you're ready to do your direct mail. Now, for the sake of this video, we're just looking at how to find properties listed on the MLS. So as an example, we'll just select the county here. We can go to Broward County, and we want to look at for sale. And so once we get here, and the thing I really want to stress for you guys is that you want to be targeting properties that are, number one, indicative of distress, and number two, you want to sell things that are already selling. So you should have done the exercise into your market already. Again, this is why market research is so important. You want to know what are the prices that cash buyers are paying in your market. Where are the hot zip codes? If you haven't done that already, make sure that you get caught up. If you don't have your cash buyers list, make sure you send an email to support and make sure you complete that exercise. So what we're going to do here is we're going to start by trying to find things that we know our cash buyers are already purchasing. So in my market, for example, 3-bedroom houses are very popular, over 1,000 square feet, concrete block, that are kind of cookie cutter houses. They're not in war zones. They're not in super luxurious areas. Ideally, they have no or very low HOA, not in gated communities. Those can be a pain with some of the HOA application stuff, and then also a pain to show when it's time to show to your cash buyer. So those are some of the things that you want to keep in mind as you're going through this search. Remember, when I first started, I had this deal that on paper looked really, really good. It was about 50% of all the comps around it, very good comps, and neither my mentor nor myself were able to sell it. And then when he explained it to me, it was because, yeah, the comps look good, but they were concrete block houses, and this was some weird construction where from the outside it looked like kind of a log cabin. It was a little bit awkward. So you don't really want some of these more awkward things. A lot of times you'll see properties where you walk up the driveway and the main entrance like on the side of the house and it's on some raised platform, makes it look like there could be permit issues or something just kind of weird going on there. So keep in mind when we drill down a little bit, you'll see some of that. But just as a starter, let's say I want bedrooms equal to 3 bedrooms, and I won't put too many in here just for the sake of the demo here. Year built, you probably don't want stuff that was built a year ago. There's probably not too much equity in those properties. And then there are just tons of different combinations you can make with this stuff. Now what I'll do is below this video I'll put some combinations that can kind of be the default, your go-to, that you're going to want to check, that worked very well for me. But you can take this stuff and mix it up. So for example, listing date, you might have one search set up for older listings, and then stuff you might have one without that data restriction, stuff like that, and we've talked about that before. Back to some of the stuff, I said this in our Facebook mastermind group in one of our live Q&A sessions. back to that example with the log cabin thing, it's like you want to be the Starbucks. Everyone's buying coffee, and so initially when you're just getting started, you don't necessarily want to go into some kind of niche stuff where the example would be, opening a Starbucks in the middle of a city versus some very specialized, vegan superfood drink, Cambo drink that a lot of people have never heard of, unless you know that market and the demand is there for that. All right. So, just moving right along, listing price. That's another one where you really want to know your market. Maybe you can say, okay, in this certain zip code, cash buyers are paying between 100 and 150. So again, I'm going to start my search there. And you want to start your first searches very refined with as many filters as you can, so you can find the things that are most like what your buyers are buying. And once you've exhausted that inventory, then you can go ahead and start to remove some filters or get a little bit more lax. So for example, my first search might say only show me things with 0 HOA fee. And then once I've made offers on those properties, and some of these are going to be very hard to exhaust these lists, but let's say I do, then I'll run another search and I'll ease up off that. I'll say, okay, show me anything with less than $100 HOA fee, things like that. Right? So listing price could be, again, based on the market research that you should have completed already. And the next thing I want to show you is active equity and potential equity. And I'll explain what these are, but these are really, really cool search filters that are basically telling us, it's not a guarantee, but it's saying, is there potential for this to be a deal? So what I'll do here is I'm going to look for, greater than, let's just say 30% equity. And then we'll do the same here for potential equity. And then let's just go ahead and run this search. So my data comes back, and there are a couple different things that I want to look at. So the first thing I can look at is simply the list price. You just click the button here, they'll go ahead and sort that. And then I can see, okay, maybe you want to start off with very cheap properties, because maybe there's something going on there where I'm not saying it's necessarily a deal, but it's something that might be worth looking into. Now, some other headers that I want to just explain really quickly. We have the market value here. So the criteria for this is the median value of all sold comps within the last 12 months, plus or minus 10% of square footage located in a half-mile radius. And so this is really good. Again, it's subject to, it's not perfect, it's just automatically calculated by the system, but this is a good start. It's based on sold comps. The active value, on the other hand, is the same thing, but it's based on active listings. So it's still valuable intel that you want to pay attention to, but the market value is really where it's at. Which brings me to our equity filter. So active equity is going to be the active value. Remember, that's here what's currently on the market minus the listing price divided by, again, the active value times 100. So again, good to pay attention to, and help you filter and find some of these properties. But here's what you really want to look at: the potential equity, which is based on the market value, which again is based on comps that have sold in the area. And that's one way to just really make things that have potential to be deals jump out at you. Some other stuff you might want to look at is the years built. Know what's popular in your market. Certain things like, if I see an apartment number here, I'm probably not going to jump on that immediately. Yes, it could be a condo. Yes, you can sell them. But again, I'm trying to hedge my bets and just look at what's most likely to be a deal, what's most likely, has the largest pool of cash buyers that I can sell to. So that's kind of what I'm looking for here. In addition, and on that note, and especially for a lot of you who are new to this, if the list price is, $1.5 million, it's not that you can't do those deals, but typically they're going to be more hurdles. They might have HOAs, they might be in gated communities, they might give you more shit in terms of proof of funds letters, they might want higher deposits. So again, stick with the things that are easiest for you to do for now, that sells to the most buyers in your market. And then as you move along, you'll gain more resale sources. You'll have more money to put up, let's say, for deposits. You'll meet more buyers and be able to carve a certain niche in a certain place, and then you can start getting a little bit more specialized in your marketing. So if we look at this, some other things I'm looking at are the market price or active value, again, compared to the list price, and that's what this stuff's telling me here. So I'm going to go ahead and filter by our potential equity. And another thing I also want to point out here is that sometimes you'll see things where the list price 74,000 and then the value is somewhere around 280. Well, that could be a really, really great deal. Or it could be something like an unapproved short sale. You just have to kind of click through to see the story. But sometimes they're going to be huge outliers where the price is maybe I don't know, $80,000, and then the value will be, you know, $500,000. And you just have to kind of use your common sense. There are outliers that exist there. Maybe it's comparing a single family house to like some high end condos that are nearby. So sometimes when you just click through, you can read the comments and the broker remarks and stuff like that and kind of figure this stuff out. But remember, this is just a general starting point. So let's go ahead and take a look. We can pick like a random property in here. So I see this is 129 and the value here is 291. So let's just kind of, we can go to additional links to see what's going on here. So like I said, this is going to be an unapproved short sale. Needs a lot. It needs TLC for roof, pool, and many more. So that's actually going to be a very good lead. Remember, through this system, you have the agent, the listing agent's personal information, their email, cell phone, which is pretty cool. And that gets pulled into the RealFax system as well. So there's potential there. Now, what we can do is we can go back. And again, if we want to look at the comps, we can take a look at those as well. Just glancing at this very briefly, the distance, it looks like there are a lot of comps. They're in a good distance, you know, 0.1 mile away, so that's pretty good. If we look at the square footage, look to be, you know, in that realm, same size, year built. We'll come over here, 76, 76, 66. So that all these comps do look pretty good. And then we have the sold price here. So we can actually click these in the system, for example, and calculate a value, and that stuff will pop up there. And so this does look like potential for a deal. So what I would do is just add that to my follow-up system, add that here. So let's go back and look at our results to see if we can find maybe some other stuff. Okay, and so here, you know, I'm looking at this here. I see a list price of 291. Market and active value are both in the 400s. Looks like there's some potential. So let me click and see what the story is looking like here. So we can see, let's go to our additional links. Look at the broker remarks. And here we go. Great investment opportunity. Home needs extensive repairs and rehabbing, mold discoloration present, and ceiling damage. So that's something where it looks like, and again, we can see some pictures and stuff like that. That roof looks terrible. So we can see that this is probably really good potential for a deal. So we go back here. We can double check some of those comps and see what pops up here. Again, looks like we've got stuff in an appropriate distance, about the same area, built, let's see, same years. And so this looks like there's definitely some very good potential. I would go ahead and add that to my follow-up system, as well, so I can go ahead and make that offer. And so what we want to do now, okay, so that was just a quick look at those filters, which can make finding good deals for the MLS a lot easier. Again, that equity search, for example, it's just money, man. You can see, oh, a house is worth 100,000. It's listed for 75,000. Let me jump in and kind of see what's going on here. Also, if you want to see more of how the actual offer making process works, you know, after you find the deals, meaning how I actually decide on an offer price and then send those offers. I won't get into it in this video here, but I have a video on my YouTube channel where you can see the rest of that process from start to finish, and I will put a link in the description for that YouTube video as well. So once you find these, right, you got to get them under contract. Now, one of the best ways to increase your conversion rate is to make sure that you make the offer directly through the listing agent. It's super, super important. And here's why. With most deals, right, there are two realtors involved. So one is the listing agent, and that's the person that works with the seller. So they add the property to the MLS. Typically, they handle, you know, the pictures and the marketing. And then you have what's called the buyer's agent. So buyer's agent obviously deals with buyers, you know, handles the showings. And in that common scenario, both agents split the commission equally. Now, the reason I say to go directly through the listing agent is because they're going to fight harder to push your deal through because it's in their best interest. And this is something I learned from my real estate mentor, who actually is a licensed real estate agent, licensed realtor, by the way. So, you know, look at it this way. The average commission is, let's say, 6%, right? So I make an offer on 123 Main Street directly through the listing agent. My offer is $100,000. That agent makes the full 6% commission. So they get $6,000. Now, let's say John Smith comes along and makes an offer of $120,000. So that's $20,000 higher, but he also comes with his own agent, with the buyer's agent. So now the listing agent has to split the commission. So 6% of 120,000 is $7,200. So that 7,200 now needs to get split in half, 3% each, and each agent makes $3,600. Now look, that agent's got maybe a family, kids to feed, dreams that they want to achieve goals. So despite one offer being $20,000 higher, are they going to go with the thing that puts 6K in their pocket or like 3? So sometimes they're going to nudge the seller to take your offer. They might scrutinize competing offers more harshly. They might make demands of other offers they won't make of yours. Or maybe, just try to push your offer. And whatever the situation is, it's just more effective. So, and the side note here also, if you're a licensed agent, if you are a realtor, it's recommended that you do not take a commission. So what you do is you're going to say, I'm a licensed agent with XYZ broker, and you have to disclose that information anyway. But then you say, I'm purchasing this as an investor and I'm not looking for a commission. So you can represent both sides of the transaction, meaning you collect the full commission. That's what you say to the listing agent. And just tell them I keep the license active primarily for access to the MLS, access to properties, physically to get in there, and for the data. And you do that because you're more likely to make more on the flip. Again, let's assume a $10,000 profit versus a $3,000 commission. And that also puts you in a place for future deals. And so this is a concept. This whole concept of future deals, right? This applies to everybody, licensed or unlicensed. And I'm always stressing the importance of relationships. I get a lot of my deals just through my network and because of my reputation and my history of dealing with people. And to that extent, you want to turn realtors into your bird dogs who will bring you properties. And so that doesn't mean that you're using anyone. It just means that you're making win-win situations. And I think to illustrate this, it's like imagine the experience of your average, typical realtor. They have each client that buys just one house. Typically, it's their personal residence maybe once every 10 years. Maybe they get a referral from that client from time to time. But then they deal with paperwork, they deal with showings, they deal with other realtors who could be a real pain in the ass, mortgages and banks and cancellations, all kinds of fallouts, whatever. And then on top of that, they got to split their commission. Most of the time. I mean, that's like half their paycheck is just gone, right? And then you come along, you say, hey, if you feed me really good deals, I'll buy 4 of these from you every month. I'll do most of the work. You'll know me. I'll take care of the contracts. It's cash, so there's no need to deal with pre-approvals or banks or any of that. And here's the kicker. You get to keep 100% of your commission. So they're going to be more than happy to start looking out for good deals to bring you. Sometimes it's like pocket listings, stuff like that. Also really quickly on that subject of contracts, when you're getting properties on the MLS, you're not going to be able to use a generic contract like you can when you're dealing directly with a motivated seller. And instead, you're going to need your offer written on the Board of Realtors state approved contract. Ideally, you want to give the realtor as little work as possible. Again, so they just have a very positive experience with you anytime you guys are doing deals, and then they want to do it over and over. But due to there's different copyright permissions, every state's a little bit different. Sometimes you have very specific realtors, some are a little bit more anal than others. There are guidelines and limitations when it comes to using certain contracts. So I wrote a short blog article on which contract to use, some of those limitations, how it works. I'm going to put a link to in the description of that as well, so you can check that out. So back to listed properties. I just want to stress, I really, really like this strategy because these deals are just sitting there. They don't take any marketing dollars to find. And this makes it a great strategy for beginners, especially if you are starting with low or no budget. And so that's why I like to really call these the low hanging fruit. And when I say that, sometimes people say, well, if these deals are so easy to find, why wouldn't investors just grab them for themselves? And it's a good question. And I think the first part of that is they do. Like some investors are diligent and they do just grab these deals directly. But the other thing that you have to realize is that there's more to this than just finding the deal. So first you got to realize this is a volume method. Like you can't just make 10 offers and expect to have a deal. You really got to make a lot, and I mean a lot of offers. And then if you think about your average cash buyers, I mean, a lot of them might be other types of professionals. They might be doctors or lawyers. Maybe they're rehabbers, like whatever. But they're not necessarily in the business of checking the MLS daily or talking to realtors or filling out contracts. and everything else that goes into this. So they're more than willing to pay you a fee to do that work, to be that property finder who locks these deals up, so long as you can make them money. And I really want to stress again that not only are you finding the deals, and I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier, but finding the deal is just the first part. So a lot of times your offers are not going to be accepted the first time. A lot of times, matter of fact, if they are accepted the first time, you're probably offered too high, and you need to go back and renegotiate the deal. Now, once you find a property, there's a whole system to following up, how often, submitting backup offers. Again, a lot of that can be automated through a system like RealFax, which your buyers are probably not using. And then you have to know, how to negotiate once you're in contract. Maybe you got to get a price reduction and do some additional work there. So your investors, in most cases, they're not doing all of that stuff, and so that's what really justifies your wholesale fee. So takeaway here is that these deals do exist on the MLS. You can do them with little to no marketing budget. And so the next question I get is, well, it sounds like a lot of work. And to a degree, that can be true. This can take some time. But basically, if you're new and you have no money, well, yeah, you just got to put in some extra time. If you have a software to help, like RealFax, and again, I'm sure there are others, on a budget of about $100 to maybe $200 a month, you can use your software to automate a lot of this and save a significant amount of time. If you watch that video I'm putting in the description, you can see me make 50 written offers. Those are contracts fully filled out, signed and everything, and send them off in like 30 minutes. And if you want to spend a little bit more, it's a skill that you can outsource to a VA and have them make those offers on your behalf. It's unspecialized enough where, I can teach my 10-year-old daughter how to do this in, maybe 30 minutes. So hopefully you start to implement this strategy. If you get a good deal under contract in Florida, definitely hit me up and we can JV if the numbers make sense. I've got a lot of really, really qualified buyers that are ready to go. If you're interested in some more of the specifics, like more search options or filters, websites, my follow-up systems, specific steps about how you go about getting the contract, some hacks and best practices to help your conversion rates, how I go about the negotiation process with like live examples and more like step-by-step training, definitely feel free to check out Wholesaling with Mike University. That link is in the description. Any additional questions about making offers on MLS listed properties or on wholesaling real estate in general, please do leave those comments below or shoot me a message on Instagram at MikeHillTWT. Also, I'm allocating a few spots each week to do free coaching calls. Those spots do fill up very quickly. If you're interested, I'm leaving that link in the description as well. I would hit those up immediately. Again, they do fill up very quickly. And again, as always, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. Helps the channel out a great deal. It's always very, very much appreciated. And be sure to hit that bell notification so you can be alerted when I upload new videos. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll be talking to you soon. All right, I'm out of here.